I was doing a job for close to 7, 8 years before I started my entrepreneurial journey, and what I realized that even when I was doing a job, I was pretty much working like an entrepreneur, right? I was pretty much contributing, in a manner that an entrepreneur would do for the business, and I was kind of made CEO of the company at a very early age. Even when I was doing a job, I was working on all aspects of business. I just realized that if I am already doing that, why not do something that I would learn to do it for myself? And I think that the trigger point was just more about realizing I was just probably turning 30, and I realized that if I don't do something by this age, I should kind of do that. Otherwise, my life will kind of have a very standard curve and not have any special thing done for me. So the decision was turning 30, have been like an entrepreneur, why not do something for yourself? And internet did seem like a good idea. Started with not actually internet startup, started with a cashback promotions company, but always had the aspiration of doing something in the consumer internet space. The first company that we started was called as Pesaback, and it was a cashback promotions company where we used to manage cashback promotions for a lot of retailers, including Mobile Store, Chroma, Staples, and so on and so forth. We realized that the marketing and promotion market in this country was at a very nascent stage, and we found that if any internet business could kind of use the techniques that have been kind of quite popular in the West and have worked successfully and made a new model out of it. So Freecharge actually is not probably one of the few models that is not copied from the West, right? It is a true original India idea where we looked at saying that what is the largest selling product in this country, which is mobile recharge. What will make consumers come online with incentives? Can you make somebody sponsor these incentives? So we brought all these couponing partners, and we kind of made a revenue model out of that. So it was a unique idea, did not have any parallel anywhere in the world, which actually, now that I think about it, actually worked out well for us, that we never had anybody have any serious competition for the longest period of time, because nobody thought this was a serious business. I think business in India uh, can be challenging from the perspective of having consumers trust the brand and kind of move to start transacting online. We were expecting consumers to use their credit card, debit cards, and net banking on the platform. It's a huge challenge for a lot of companies, even large companies today, to get consumers to transact online. So I think some of the challenges in starting business in India was getting the consumers' trust. I think India has a huge trust deficit problem. In fact, I keep making this joke that in India, every time we get our invoice at a restaurant, we check the totals, and it's not a very common trait in the West. As an entrepreneur, one needs to have a disproportionate amount of optimism to what they are doing, right? I think lack of self-belief in the early stage or the later stage never works for an entrepreneur, right? It's never going to be right. There's never going to be an ideal situation. There's never going to be a perfect timing of sorts, but keeping a very high level of optimism throughout the journey helps you and your team to kind of tag along and keep sailing through this particular journey. Second thing I would say is that uh, uh, not fearing any setback, right? I think every time a setback happens, if you can treat that as a learning, right, and not get disheartened with it, or kind of really taken back about this, I think you almost need to start enjoying pain, not really care too much about how some things are going wrong. And the third thing is about how uh, leading a team with a one single minded focus on execution, right? It's a if the team sees you having lack of focus or lack of confidence about what you are doing, it is very natural for them to not feel confident about what they should be doing, right? So I think focus and confidence behind what you're doing, even there are challenges, I think it is very, very important on that. And the last learning is communication. I think one of the biggest things that we did, that creating massive amount of transparency in the company, right? We made sure that every small amount of data is shared across the company consistently with everybody, and everybody learns and knows about it, so that they start getting empowered about it. I think what we have noticed is that when they don't have the same picture or same view as you do, they don't feel as empowered as you do. Sure. So I think every time you are making a consumer change an existing behavior, you need to understand that they currently don't want to change that behavior. They're very comfortable with their existing behavior, and you need to make sure that the new behavior that you're offering is dramatically better than what they are currently using. I'll give a small example. Most consumers used to book the railway tickets in this country by standing in long queues at the railway platform, and then the online recharge platform, online railway ticket platform showed up called as IRCTC, and I can tell you with 100% confidence that everybody who tried booking a ticket online never came back offline to book their ticket, and that's a fundamental shift. All they needed is a trial to stick to the new behavior. What we have noticed is that every time an existing behavior and new behavior can be given an objective score, right? And you need to always see that is the new score inherently better for the consumers, right? If it's just about the same, the consumers will have to be incentivized to move in that direction, but as soon as the incentive ends, they'll move back to the old behavior, right? So you have to always look at, is the new behavior dramatically better than the previous behavior? Truly, not by the perception of it, by the advertisement of it, but actually truly better, right? Consumers never come back to the old behavior when they experience a new behavior which is dramatically better. We know for a fact that today only 4% of this country recharges online, but we know one thing for a fact, that all the guys who have tried online recharge have never come back to do offline recharges, right? So I think it's a fundamental shift that happens. Second thing is that every time you need to change a behavior, right, you have to create the right kind of motivations for it, right? So we realized that incentivizing the customer to transact online for the first time was important, and we used the retailer coupons as a way to incentivize, because it's very hard to incentivize millions of Indians without having to burn a lot of money. What we did is we smartly used somebody else's need to become incentive on our platform. So for the consumers they looked like coupons, but for the merchant they were more like ads and promotions that they were able to drive these customers. So two main learnings. You have to have a smart a new behavior that has to be dramatically better than the previous behavior, and you have to use the right kind of lubricant to kind of make that change happen. When that change happens, it never reverses usually, if the new behavior is dramatically better than the old one. So what Freecharge does is combines a very interesting thing, where every time you do a mobile top up, you get equal value incentives of different retailers. What we are essentially doing is combining utility, which is a low margin business, and giving incentives of retailers through their ads or their coupons, and make money from the operators who do top up through our platform, make commissions from the retailers who offer coupons through our platform, and some of the coupons that we offer are also actually incentives that we offer, or a paid incentive that we offer for the consumer. So we make money from three constituents at Freecharge. It's too early to call anything a competition at this point of time, because as I said, we have only 3 or 4% of the market online today, right? A large chunk of the market is offline. The true competition is actually offline, right? As more smartphones come, right? Imagine we have 100 million people on WhatsApp on an active basis, and imagine 80 million of them go to the shop to recharge. How long will this behavior continue, right? So I think the true competition is actually at old behavior and not really in the competitive landscape. All the players in our space are using recharge as a means to a different end, right? We have an objective to create an ecosystem for merchants to succeed on our platform to recharge. Some have an objective to create physical goods and sell shopping on top of that. Some have an intention of doing payments business on top of that. So recharge is used as a means to a different end, right? It is never the end by itself. I think the whole giving equal value incentives and creating a small gamification for consumers to be able to opt for coupons was something we are very proud of. And I think that was the biggest thing that we believe acted as a feature which created all the growth for us. I think from a technology perspective, I think getting our apps to be super light and to be able to work on low data networks is some of the things that we are very proud of. Consumers are usually out of data connections when they are recharging, and providing them a very low data consumption to be able to do a top up is something that we are very proud of as a feature that we build in FreeCharge. First of all, I would say that no, there is no better time to get into this market right now. We have 100 million smartphone users going to 300 million in a very short span of time, right? All of them are going to be using the mobile to make their life better, and they're looking for more and more products to make their life better. So one, I would tell the budding entrepreneurs there is no better time to enter into the mobile internet business than ever before. And maybe this time will never come again as well, because a lot of things will be established by that time. Number two, what I would say is that one should look at a very large market to address, right? One should not look at creating a small niche market, because I believe that you have to have a very large dartboard to be able to successfully hit the target, right? If you choose a very small dartboard, you have to be really very good at trying to hit right at the bullseye, right? I think when you go after a large market like Recharge or Cabs, we've seen all the major companies creating a massive impact by chasing a very large market. So I would say chasing a large market is the second thing. And the third thing I would say is that just focusing on growth and execution is going to be the biggest determinant of success. So I would say that you may be often wrong, just never be in doubt. Just go and execute what you have to do. So I think what we try to do is we are very youth focused brand. We believe younger customers are the one who act as a catalyst for a lot of people in the family to change their behavior, especially when it comes to technology, right? We call actually these younger people actually chief technology officers of the Indian households, right? And we focus on them to be addressed through our communication all the time. So we always are influencing the younger generation and not appealing to the older generation. That's one. Second thing that we are doing is ensuring that our communication is always fresh, peppy, and always showing the consumer that this is the smart and more rewarding behavior that they should be going after. And I think we stay consistent at that. I don't think that has changed. Obviously, we have taken approach from social media to going up to a television ad, but the message has been fairly consistent. First things first, I would really recommend to younger entrepreneurs is that today's world, consumers are very well connected, right? And one of the biggest growth levers for any business is your product brag worthy, right? I use that word a lot. Is that somebody should feel like bragging about your product to somebody else. That's when you will have the viral growth. I have always noticed that any product, like for example, Truecaller is one product that I have noticed that not spend a single marketing dollar, but every time I have seen one person showing the magic of Truecaller to another customer, and the other person downloading the app as well. So I think making it brag worthy is very important. Second thing I would say is that you need to always recruit influencers first to your product versus trying to go after everybody in the market, because influencers tend to have a larger impact on how others will adopt this product and talk about it. So I would urge that they should find who the top 5% would be in their focus consumer segment and just appeal to them and reach out to them, beg, borrow, steal, get the influencers to come on and talk about the product. I personally don't give too much merit to business plans when an entrepreneur is starting on a journey which he has pretty much no data or past experience on, right? What I just talk about is looking at traction as a metric, right? And if you can use traction as the key metric to see how that is going to grow, business plans I've rarely seen ever work out, especially for early stage companies. What I would really focus on is building on key metrics versus business plan. What will be the three or four key metrics that you will track for your business? So fortunately, we did not have that thing. I think our category has been a very high growth category, so we never had to really worry about meeting projection. What I would still talk about is having a very aggressive goal written out for the team. A lot of companies in the larger corporate world actually use uh, uh, the method of building Excel sheet to project what will their growth be like 1 year. What we do is very simple thing. We take a absolutely aggressive number 12 months out and say this is what we want to achieve no matter what, and reverse engineer the whole thing after that, right? So what I would talk about is that don't try to extrapolate and kind of say that I'm here, I'm gonna get there through this particular model. You just take one goal, make sure that every lives and breathes that particular goal and get to that, right? And I think if that goal is clear, everybody's breathing that goal, you'll be surprised how fast you will achieve that goal. Think the only trait that I have seen that work out in the long run is how tenacious one can be. I think tenacity for me is the largest method of somebody kind of being successful, of being an entrepreneur. I think never, no other characteristics has played out thing. It is not smarts, it is not extraordinary talent. I think everything else is manageable. The one trait that I have seen that every entrepreneur is born with and almost needs a large dose of to be successful is tenacity. Well, things are never going to be perfect, right? What we need to do is make sure that you treat every failure as learning and every success as a milestone and keep moving forward. I think tenacity is one trait that where don't see problems, you only see learnings and you keep moving forward. It's almost like a capability of never ever feeling that no, you are not successful or you are not moving forward. I think tenacity is something that gives you the power of keep moving on every day on day with same amount of enthusiasm, no matter how the previous day has been. One of the key things was that Freecharge were going to continue as a separate brand and company, and I think we have continued to do that. Right, we're building some interesting common things for the company in terms of common accounts and many other interesting features that will follow. But nothing has really changed. The company's culture, company's location, offices, team is kind of been pretty intact, and that was the whole objective of keeping it that way. Investors and M&A are two different things. I would say an investor, you need to get somebody who buys into your vision completely and will have complete faith in your execution and complete faith in what you have as a roadmap, right? You need to make sure that you have somebody who will have 100% conviction on you. That's the first part. The second part that I believe for M&A discussion is that no, there has to be 100% trust between the uh, the 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 target and the acquirer, at least at the founder level, and everything else kind of falls in place, right? If anything, means I believe everything falls back to the whole trust deficit problem, right? I think if there is a 100% implicit trust, everything else gets sorted, right? I think when everything starts with a trust being something that is missing, it just works out against you no matter what you do, be it investment, be it M&A. Well, we just realized that combining to a larger ecosystem gives you more power, and combined power just multiplies, right? I think one of the key things for us was to realize that if we can kind of result in becoming part of one large ecosystem and grow with that, it would make sense, and I think allow us to focus on what we need to do versus trying to monetize. I think for us, growth was critical for us, and having to monetize is something that Snapdeal has taken the burden away of, because they have a huge amount of customer overlap that they can do physical good shopping and so on and so forth, right? So I think one of the big focus area for us was to just grow a large growth engine and act as Snapdeal to be kind of one that can benefit from that growth engine. So what we are doing, first of all, consumers that we have on Freecharge are primarily from tier 1 cities, and Snapdeal is largely on tier 2, tier 3 cities, and we are able to combine, migrate a lot of customers from our base to Snapdeal and Snapdeal to our base. Second, we are also able to leverage a huge amount of learning between the two platforms, because now obviously we are focused on digital goods and they are physical on physical goods. The combined data is very valuable. The third thing is about creating an interesting method of. We believe that a lot of consumers will do their first transaction in form of recharge or bill payment and not necessarily buy a shirt online, right? So it becomes a nice way to come onto e-commerce by offering a very low value, low risk kind of a transaction. And then once they learn that, they can migrate to doing more things like buying a refrigerator or buying a television, right? So I think that's the synergies that we have explored so far. Obviously, there is a lot more to be done in the days ahead. I think I would have started up early in my life and not done a startup late in my life. I think that's one thing I would have definitely changed, and I think I would have been fairly okay in my journey if I had done that. I think I would have done that, and I think another thing I can think about is that always have a very strong self-belief. I would have probably not ever had doubt in terms of, even if I was doing a new model or working on anything unique, I would have just focused on consumer traction as a conviction towards versus anybody else's view on how the business is, right? I think I would have changed these two things. Only one thing. You guys are the few small percentage of smart people in this country. You have the moral responsibility to take the country forward. You should start up, and you should create value for the team that works for you. You should create value for your investors, and make a big impact. We will not progress as a country unless a lot of innovation happens in this country and propels the country forward. So I would just advise everybody to just forget everything, and worst case scenario, they will be, even if they are not successful entrepreneurs, they'll be probably the best employee that anybody can hire after all the failures that they will go through. I think it's very important to have the learnings early in their life than late in life.